Welcome to Duelality Gamecast, the show for people who love to play games.
Greetings everybody and welcome to a Duelality Gamecast Riposte. I'm William Creel and with me as always is Matt Robinson.
Hey!
Today we're going to be doing a discussion and overall talk about the game Time Stories.
Spoiler free.
Absolutely. The reason being is that this is kind of a one and done in a way sort of game. You buy expansions to play it again and again. If we went into story and raw mechanics, I think it would ruin some of the fun. So we're going to kind of go over the gist of how it plays and not really talk about story or anything in the game. And just go for it and see what we come up with and try to help you guys figure out if you want to purchase it or not. So, Time Stories is a time traveling game. You're basically a time cop, and you kind of quantum leap into people in different points of time and try to solve problems with time crisis, basically. And the game's played out through a story with multiple choice and multiple branching directions. And it has an interesting basic mechanic, I feel, where when you show up to a location, a bunch of cards are taken out from the deck. It says, go to location A. You lay out all the cards from location A. The back of them all has a panoramic scene showing you what's going on. Then you take your character and decide where you enter that scene at. And then you get to read a card.
Right.
No one else in your group gets to read the card unless they're at that same location. So you kind of read it and you can see what it is. And the idea here is that you can communicate with each other, but you can't read the card verbatim. That kind of ruins some of the fun.
Yeah.
So you kind of look at it, put it down, and then try to explain to your friends what you saw. They can choose to come over there in a following action and look at the card itself. Why not letting everybody see it's important is that some of the cards have graphics or art on them that might be a clue to part of the story. It might not be something you realize at first. Mm-hmm. And the fact that you saw it means that when that time comes up in the storyline, you're going to be the one who puts two and two together if no one else got to take a chance and look at it. But it has a really interesting... I've never played a game like that before that has that type of kind of choose your own adventure feel when you show up. It's like, here's a room. Who do you want to talk to? Oh, that's an interesting looking character. Oh, that hallway looks dark and scary. Which way am I going to go?
Right, and the game is structured so that every time you play, it's a different mission. And it's completely unique. If I guess you technically could play the same mission over again, but it's really gonna take all the immersion out of the fun of it out. In fact, there's a taking multiple runs thing that happens in this game that we'll talk about in a minute. That you will experience because it's a difficult game, but every game does start the same way. You, as time cops, start at your headquarters in the future, where you get an introduction by your boss, head guy, Bob. I think there's a robot lady voice, too, or something. He will give you the general rundown of the mission, the crisis, where you're going, the time period, a little bit of what to expect. Not much, I will tell you, having played a couple different missions. What you're supposed to do. Sometimes they tell you more about what you're supposed to do than other times. Mm-hmm. Then they put you in your little time capsules, and 3, 2, 1, pow, you appear in this other place, other time. And on your board, there will be a sort of strategic map, which is the entire environment on a large scale. Mm-hmm. So it's more like regions. And you can move around those regions, and in each new region, you unlock the panorama that you discussed. And you can go through those sections of that panorama. There will be times when you'll discover things about the entire environment, which will change the strategic map and add new locations to go to. Mm-hmm. So you're moving around the strategic map, you're moving around the panorama rooms or zones, whatever you want to call them, picking up clues, talking to people, sometimes getting gear or equipment, encountering threats, trying to solve riddles, puzzles, all kinds of challenges. Like you said, it's very much a choose your own adventure. You're going to encounter different things in different areas. And there will be a lot of instances where you discover something and you're like, oh,
we have to go back
to
room 7B.
Yeah. So here's the catch. Every mission has a limited number of time units that you have to solve the crisis or figure out the mystery and save the day. If you use up all those time units before you do that,
mission fail.
Mission fail. You wake up back at home base. Bob, to some degree or another, chastises you, and you go for another run. Usually, yeah. Well, I mean, without revealing anything, we can say how many runs did our first game take?
Oh my goodness, yes. The first game, I don't know. We were in a lot of trouble that first game.
We were stuck.
And that's what's kind of neat is that there's when you're playing it, you're continuously learning stuff, and the game's revealing more stuff. So you'll discover something new. There's a big stacks of cards that are numbered. Someone will say like, look at card 27, and you pull it out, and it completely changes how you imagine the game was going to play, and it gives you you can pick up guns and weapons or swords and axes or whatever it is, but the big point of it is the exploring. It's the finding what's around the corner, and that pressure of, do we have enough time?
Yeah.
You're like, hey, there's this thing over here, and someone's like, well, what is it? You're like, well, it's just, I don't know, it's a big red glowy thing. I don't know. You're trying to explain something, and the person's like, oh, you are horrible at this. I want to go over there and take a look at it myself. And you're like, but we are.
There's more time.
Yeah. So they run over there, and you're like, well, then I guess I'll go over here, and or you can hang out there and help. Mm-hmm. There's a part we haven't talked about. There's vessels that the people you're actually quantum leaping into. They're all unique.
Yeah.
So you're kind of doing this thing when you first start, where you're kind of picking a character that is naturally in that environment, and then you're kind of puppet mastering them around, deciding what to do.
Right. So they'll have stats that kind of are tailored to their character. Maybe they're better at searching. Maybe they're better at fighting. Maybe they're better at talking to people. And they usually have a special ability. I think almost all of them we've seen have special abilities. There, I think maybe a couple that didn't. And those special abilities will help or hinder the mission in very specific, unique ways. They might make you give you rerolls. That's just a total example, because there's a ton of different ways it can work. One very unique thing, just touching on the taking a second or third run kind of thing, is with the time units running out, a lot of times you might encounter situations where, you're like, oh, we should have gone there and done this, but we're out of time units. So what's cool is you do your second run. Say you failed the first run. They send you back down. Sometimes they augment how many time units you get. They're especially marked cards, which if you've discovered them in your prior run, might stay in play. But most of what you've experienced gets reset back in their appropriate decks, and you're kind of starting from square one. But what's really neat about that is you've been through and you've seen a ton, and so it becomes this. The players, from my experience, have start speaking a little bit of shorthand. You're like, it feels like you're time travelers who've done this before.
You Groundhog Day is what it is.
You Groundhog
Day. Like,
Day.
okay, we got to go here, and it's still by memory.
Yeah.
So you're still making mistakes occasionally.
Yeah.
And what I've seen is that when we're playing it is when we get stuck in a loop and we start talking faster and we're rushing. It's like there's not enough time, and even though it's
abstract.
Yeah, it's abstract. We feel the pressure, and we push on, trying to go quicker, go faster, take shorthands. You're like, wait a minute, we get in arguments. Well, was it down this path or down this path? I'm like, I'm pretty sure it's here, and someone else says it's there, and we're like, we're going this way, and we go there, and oh no, it's not right. It has this fun, frenetic feel. The more, because things are getting tighter, Bob's getting more angry at you, you're getting closer to just absolute failure. So you're just pushing, you're pushing. And there's just so many surprises in this game, is what it is. Is that everyone has slightly different mechanics. The rules work a little bit different.
Yeah.
Like some of the stories are more like combat driven, some are more mystery driven. There's everything. Every time you play it, you don't know how it's going to play until you actually get into the game. And you're like, oh my goodness, so this is the avenue that this one's going. Have to recalibrate and replan for how we're doing.
Yeah, it's ingenious. They did a really good job of creating a basic board and components that they could use in different situations. So this game comes with a ton of markers.
Mm-hmm.
And when you start your new mission, in the briefing, you are going to learn what those markers represent. And it could be totally different than the last mission.
Right.
Or it could be slightly different. And it all works fine. And there's a couple basic markers that are pretty much used the same every time. They have these sort of abstract block designs. There's one right there. You probably can't see that.
We'll throw it up. Graphic.
Yeah. And those are sort of clue or trigger markers. Like, you go somewhere and you talk to somebody and they tell you this thing, which will let you go through the bodyguards here. There are no bodyguards. I'm not spoiling anything. I'm just making that up. But now you get to take that little marker as a reminder, put it on the appropriate space on the board, and then you go to that place, and there's like, if you have this marker, go through the door.
Yeah, reveal this card, and it opens up a whole new line. So you'll go to a place, interact with it, be like, okay, we've done everything. There's these other cards over here that have icons on the back of them, of those markers that are blocked out. We'll get to that later, I hope. Mm-hmm. And then you continue on, and then you know, like you said, somebody gives you a badge or a key or something, and then you're like, okay, in storyline, I probably can figure out where it goes, but also then you're racking your brain like, well, we've seen all these different symbols. There's like 4 different colors, and they're all a grid in different shapes, so it's hard to remember, like, okay, well was that one 4 black squares, or is it 2 black squares and a black ring? Like, you're trying to remember that stuff, and then you're like, well, you know, as the story says, he was talking about this, so we probably should go here. There's lots of running around. You can play the game, because we kind of looked over some stuff after we finished. You can play the game and not even go to certain sections or even realize things are there.
Right.
So there's just lots of exploring and discovery. Really, when you play this game, it's not going to play the same for 2 different groups of people.
No.
You might get to the point where you're like a Groundhog Day situation or something like that, where you're going, okay, we need to go to A, B, to C, to D, to E, and then we need to go here, and then hit the magic button, and everything's good. But it still feels tight sometimes doing that, and there's still stuff that you can go a different direction. There's always options, always forks. So it feels like someone else could go and go like, well, maybe this is a better route, and they can go a different way. It feels like you could talk to someone else who's played the game from you, and you guys would be like, what are you talking about? I never even met that guy. Who are you? What's happening? Lots of fun stuff.
They're almost... This is a pretty popular game, and if it continues being successful and they keep putting out more and more missions, there's almost going to need to be some kind of jargon, I think, that needs to come up where you're like, Marcy case? Oh, you have? Okay, let's talk. Or, Marcy, no? Okay, we're cool. I'm not going to say anything. You know, but what also this game has a ton of, like, I feel, aha moments. Mm-hmm. You know? The first time we played, we got stuck on a puzzle and literally banging our heads on the table. Like, I mean, we were stuck. And then just somehow...
something clicked.
That gear finally turned on, run number 4 or something?
Yeah. And we're like, it makes sense now.
Yeah,
and then
we got it. Oh, my gosh. And then, you know,
so good.
The second time there were similar, maybe not quite as drastic, but similar aha moments. And also, it seemed like when you take your second or third run, because I'm sorry, folks, but you're going to, people start remembering certain things, and it's almost like I'm in charge of this. You know, it's like, all right, I know how to lay these cards out. I got that. Boom, boom, boom. This is how they went. I remember. Trust me. You remember this other thing. And, you know, it almost like we started filling in those gaps. Like, this is a thing I can remember, so that's what I'm contributing.
Yeah, it's continuous, just like you're saying, aha moments that keep you going, what's next, what's next, what's next? And as soon as you finish, because the game usually, like I said, we're having to do multiple runs, the game ends up not being quick.
Right.
But it's a game that no one's ever sitting around in it, right? Because basically you're all taking turns simultaneously. You all show up at a place, you all go someplace, you all look at your cards at the same time, kind of do your stuff, talk amongst yourselves. Maybe one guy's fighting somebody or something else, so you might run over and help that person or do something else. And then it's like, okay, well, I think we should go here, and there's kind of a voting process, and then there's like a tiebreaker built in the game. Is there's like a kind of a first player Time Lord marker that passes around.
It's called the Time Leader or something.
Yeah,
like that.
And that person's the one who goes, we can't decide what to do. We're going here, type of a thing. But you know what? I feel like I'm just gushing over it, Matt. If you were going to rate this, let's say, I know we're kind of middle of the video, but if you're going to rate this, where are you going with it?
So this is a must-buy for me. This is hands down one of the most unique games I've played in my entire history as a hobbyist gamer. But I think we need to talk about there are people that this is not going to work for. There are people who have a problem with the one and done consumable or disposable nature of this game. Like, this is an event game. You buy the box. The base box comes with a game, mission, and all the stuff you need to play all your future missions, you know, the base stuff. But when you play that mission in the box, you're done. You have to go buy an expansion mission. As of this recording, there's the base one, and there's 2 others published and out. I'm sure they're going to make a ton more. The ones you buy, the expansions, depending on where you get them from, they're probably between $20 and $30. Some people have a problem with that concept. It's like, I'm going to pay $20 to $30 to play something one time. I don't have that problem, having experienced this game, and it's worth it in every way. It's like, you know, you talk about how expensive movies are these days. Well, if it's a darn good movie, you don't mind, and that's how I feel about this. Component quality, planning, you know, fun. The bang for your buck is there for me. So, must buy.
Okay, I'm going to do must buy also. I'm lucky because Matt's been the must buy in it for me. But, like you're saying, the cost effect of it, it's not, it seems like a lot, but it's, like you're saying, it's like a $20 thing. I can see there being a big secondary market in this game.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I know our local game store, you can kind of buy and sell trade games through it. I can see that. I haven't seen, it's funny, I haven't seen any Time Story stuff up, but I could see that becoming a thing where, like, you know, sure, you can only play this game once, but depending on your game group, you know, if 3 of you play it one night, and then you're like, hey guys, this game was awesome. You 3 guys play it some night when we're not around. You can get a lot of play out of it.
Yeah.
The $20 thing, we spend more than that on pizza and everything that night. It's not as big of a cost as saying for people going out to the movies, right? Like, it's less than that. So if you want to think of it that way, it's like, well, 4 of us are going to play this game. Everyone chip in $5. We have 3 hours of game tonight. Yeah. It doesn't seem prohibitive to me. At first, I felt the same way. I was like, what? But after having played it and the experience you get for it,
yeah,
and there'd be no way to have this experience with a game that's replayable.
Yeah.
It has to be that surprise, all that stuff. To get that, it has to be a one and done type of thing. So, yeah, must buy.
All right, that about finishes this Riposte discussion of Time Stories. We've kind of told you how we feel about it, what our experiences have been, but, you know, we don't want to leave you hanging. So, William, what are some tips, some recommendations, some lookouts you want to give to people who might buy this game going into it for the first time?
Well, and it's a good question because you only play the game once, so you want to make sure you understand what's going on. And the thing is, read the instructions. They're not hard to follow. And believe in the game.
Oh, yeah.
Every time I think we play this game, we lead into it. I'm always like, I don't understand what's going on. I feel like we're missing something, and I'm panicking because I know we're only going to play this game once, and I want to make sure. And then it all runs smooth, and like when I finally get to that point that I've been worrying about, this card explains it. Follow the instructions. Read every card that's handed to you thoroughly. You'll be fine. I think that's what it is. Don't worry about the one and done nature of it, that you're going to miss something. As long as you read what's in front of you, you won't have a problem. Everything works itself out and explains itself pretty well.
Yeah. The only thing I could add to that is you may want to have someone who kind of owns the introduction to each mission and sort of owns the little tweaks that every mission's going to have. not really a game master, but just that one person who's going to be referring back to the references.
There's a couple reference cards in every mission that explain what the different tokens and stuff are for. Yeah, exactly. To have that stuff out, if you kind of divvy up those responsibilities, I think that the game will run smooth. Like I said, I know every time we've played, I've been like, oh geez, we're going to miss something. This experience is going to be ruined. And then it flows.
Yeah.
So just let the game take you where it should be. If you run to part and you're like, I don't know how to proceed, read the instructions because they're going to explain it. It's not... Yeah. It's pretty well written. Everything's going to be pretty clear for you.
Yep, absolutely.
Okay. So that was our quick overview. I don't know how quick that really was of Time Stories. I want to thank you guys for listening. And if you can let us know in the comments below how you like this more kind of roundtable discussion format. If there's something else you think would like us to do, like a non-spoiler type talk about review, or if you think that maybe we should start doing more games like this in general, let us know, because we're trying to improve, we're trying to change it up, we're trying to do what you guys like.
Yep.
And as always, thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to like. Don't forget to tweet. Don't forget to Facebook. Don't forget to do anything, because you're very important to us.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.